everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make 2 cards using the Layered Butterflies thin cut set. That's this large set right here. I'm going to use the small butterfly and the You Are Enough stamp set. I'm going to use some ballerina glitter paper along with the You Are Enough pattern papers and cardstock. So let's get started. I'm going to use this image from You Are Enough. I'm measuring it to see how much paper I'm going to need. So I'm going to cut off 2 3/4 off the bottom of this piece of pattern paper. And then I'm going to stamp this image on the pattern paper, and then I'll be cutting it out using the coordinating thin cut. So I'm not sure if I'm going to need 3 or 4, so I'm going to go ahead and make 4 just so that I have enough when I start creating my background for my card front. So I'm going to get these stamped out, and I'm using sapphire ink. And then I'll bring my Big Shot in and I'll cut them out using the coordinating thin cut. So I'm going to use these images to create a background, a patterned background for my card front. So we'll cut that one out, and then the rest of them I'll do off screen. Okay. And then I'm going to take this ballerina glitter paper and cut 4 butterflies. This is the detailed thin cut. So I'll cut those out. All right, so now I'm ready to start building my card. So I have a piece of white daisy cardstock. I'm going to cut this at 3 3/4 by 5 so that I can have a larger border using this geometric cardstock from You Are Enough. It's got rose gold foiling on it. It's super pretty. So I want to show as much of that pattern as I can. Okay. So now we're ready to start building our pattern. So I'm going to lay these images out on my card front. And I'm figuring out where I'm going to stamp my thank you sentiment. Kind of placing things before I stamp my image. Okay, so I'm going to flip my Versamat over to the soft side for stamping. And then I'm going to stamp thank you in the lower left corner using sapphire ink. And then I can build my design around that. And it turns out I'm going to need just 3. Of the butterflies, and I don't know, they're almost like a spirograph cog wheel sort of design. Okay, so let's build the card. I'm going to put my patterned cardstock down with Tombow, and that's cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, an A2 card size. And then I'm going to lay these designs on my white daisy cardstock, and I'm going to attach them with Tombow as well. There's going to be some definition and I'm going to have the butterflies kind of folded up a little bit, so that's where there's going to be some more definition on the card front. So I don't want to put these pattern paper images down. I don't want to pop them to add too much. I don't want too much thickness to the card, just a little bit. So we'll get those all down. Figuring out where to place them. Get those down, and then I'm going to flip everything over and just trim off the excess that went over the edges. Okay, and then my butterflies, well, first I'm going to put this down on my card front, also using Tombow. And then my butterflies I'm going to attach with some glue dots just in the center. And then I'm going to kind of bend the wings up and put them down. So we'll have a butterfly in the circle in the center of each of these images. And then for the last step, I'm looking at it and thinking it needs a little more. So I have some of this rose gold liquid pearls, and I'm going to scatter a bunch of those around. So these, if you squeeze them vertically, they're self-leveling and they create pearls on your card front. Super cool. All right, so there's the first card and close-up shots. I think it turned out pretty. Okay, let's make another one. So I've got this hexagon pattern paper from You Are Enough, and I'm going to cut out some hexagons using the stitched hexagon set. And this one I also need 2 3/4 strip of cardstock. So each of these hexagons, they're bordered by rose gold foiling. They're super cool. So I'm going to cut 3 of these out. So I'll show one and then skip ahead. And now I'm going to stamp the smallest butterfly. That's part of this You Are Enough stamp set. And this set has a coordinating thin cut for that butterfly too. So it has one stamp that's a solid and then another stamp that's a detailed layering. So I'm going to use Desert Rose ink, and I'm going to do first and second generation stamping. I wasn't sure if I wanted it the full color or if I wanted a lighter version of the Desert Rose color. So I did 3 of each in the first and second generation stamping. So I'm going to heat emboss the detailed butterfly using this Copper Tinsel embossing powder. It was the closest thing to rose gold that I had. So check your stash and see what colors you have that are closest to rose gold, or you may have some rose gold embossing powder. So I'm stamping this detail butterfly over the solid butterfly using Versamark ink. And then I'm going to sprinkle the Copper Tinsel embossing powder over everything. And then I'll dust it off into a coffee filter and then funnel the excess back into the jar. Okay, so now I'm going to use my heat tool and melt the embossing powder. I've sped this up super fast. They look so pretty. Okay, so now we have our butterflies, and I'm going to run them through using the coordinating die cut. So again, I'll show the first one and then I'll cut the rest of them off screen. Okay. So now we're ready to start creating the card. So I have this piece of patterned paper that's from You Are Enough, and I'm going to cut this at 5 1/4 by 4, and that'll be the base that I create my design on. And then I've got the light side of peach, and I'm going to cut that at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and that'll be the same size as my card front. Okay. So now I'm just going to lay everything out on my card front to figure out where I want to stamp my sentiment. Okay, so I think that's going to work. So I'm going to stamp my sentiment in the lower right corner, and it's going to be the same. It'll be the thank you. So I flip my verse mat over for stamping, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment in Desert Rose ink. Same basic process as the other card, just using hexagons. Okay, so I'll flip this over and then I will attach all of my hexagons with Tombow tape runner. Getting them all placed out before I start adhering. Okay, so I have all those down, and then same thing, I'm going to flip it over and trim off the excess off the edges. Now we're ready to start building our card. So I have a card base, and I'll put the peach down using Tombow. And then I looked at this and I thought that the upper right corner of this pattern paper was kind of disappearing into the peach. So I decided to get a sponge dauber and just daub some Desert Rose ink around the edges for some added definition. I'm just going to sponge that all around the edge, kind of give a more defined border to that pattern paper. And I thought that could work. Yep. Okay, and then I'll add that using some Tombow. So this collection is available during the months of May and June while supplies last. And I'll put a list of supplies that I used to make these two cards with links in the description below. This set is just stunning. So pretty. And then same thing for this one. After I got my butterflies down with glue dots, I'm going to add some rose gold liquid pearls and scatter a whole bunch of those around the card front. I'll have some still pictures at the end. So there's my finished card. So pretty. So I appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. And thanks for watching.